This is the breadbasket of America. Here in the broad valleys of the Mississippi, the Missouri, and the Ohio lie 1 million square miles of farmland. The area is dotted with small towns and villages, market centers for the farms. Such a town is Yellow Springs, a community of 1,600 in the state of Ohio. Recently, something happened in this small town, something of which its people are proud. The streets of Yellow Springs are quiet today. 281 of its boys are in uniform. Francis Shaw, who runs the dry goods store, is nearly out of service flags. You'll see one in almost every window in town. At the Cordells and the Huffords and the Dohertys. Peaceful windows in the shady streets. In the farm windows, too. And in the windows of the foundry workers. Stanley Underdunk has 3 stars on his flag, one for each of his sons in the service. And the foundry where they work just put up a plaque with the names of the boys who've gone away. Here they make castings for aircraft engines. It's the biggest war industry in town. Sergius Vernet owns the smallest. He invented a thermostat for the oil coolers on Liberator bombers. Each of his assistants has a husband at war. Mrs. Fessenden's is in England, and Mrs. Inman's is somewhere in the Mediterranean area. Every day the mail comes in from Britain, Africa, Alaska, the Pacific. They're cheerful, these letters, giving bits of news and asking for news of the town and what it's like there these days. It was letters like these which set the people in Yellow Springs to thinking. Thinking about what sort of town the boys will come home to when the war is won. The veterans of the last war discussed it in the light of what happened to them. A group of them met for lunch one day in Polcotty's dining room. Besides Bill Polcotty, there were Ed Oster, the garage owner, Vic Esterline, a farmer, Orville Kirshner, the postman, Harold Igo, a reporter, and Lowell Fess, the mayor of the town.
Well, you were one of the lucky boys, Ed. We'll take my own case, for example. Prior to the outbreak of the war, I'd planned on taking a law course. But all I had when I got back was the $60 that the Army had given me. Now, I ask you fellows, how are you going to get a law course on $60?
Look, Red, I was a fry cook in Cincinnati before the last war.
Well, Bill, I thought a good cook could always get a job.
That's right, Harold, but it wasn't that way in 1920. I walked all over the city of Cincinnati, covered every beanery. Narrow sign of a job.
Well, what did you do, Orvie?
Well, I worked for the Miles Powder Works. I got my old job back, and I got back. But it didn't last only about 3 months.
The discussion went on into the evening, and then Vic Esterline had an idea.
You know what I've been thinking? We can do something about it. I mean for the boys when they come back home. What we need are jobs for all these boys that left this territory, and a town plan for everybody to get behind and push.
Yeah, I know, Vic, but that's going to take an awful lot of organizing.
Yeah, but we can try it.
Well, it depends a whole lot on what Washington does, what they do at the International Peace Conference. What they do there will have a lot of bearing on what we do here. So I suggest for the present, we hold up and wait and see what happens.
Wait? Why wait? We can have a little peace conference room right here in Yellow Springs.
Well, not exactly a peace conference, Vic, but I think you're on the right track. I tell you, fellas, I think it's high time that we all got together and did some post-war planning of our own.
That started it. The idea spread through Yellow Springs. People discussed it at their shopping. The town's newspaper took it up in editorials, and subscribers from all over the county wrote in letters. The women talked it over at their Russian War Relief Sewing Circle. The idea spread to Antioch College, to the faculty and the students. It reached the farms, and the farmers swung their organizations behind it. The workers at the foundry, through their union, followed suit. The churches held community picnics. Finally, all these groups elected delegates, and a conference was held in the high school gymnasium.
First, we'll hear from the Committee on Education. Miss Hughes?
Mr. Chairman, many of the boys hadn't finished their schooling. Now, they're the carpenter boys, just through high school, out on the Pacific now. And John Reed, he wanted to study law. We'd like to set up some kind of replacement bureau that would consider every serviceman as a unique person. Do they want to finish their education? Then it's up to us to find out what college or what type of training they prefer and help them to get it. But the main thing we want to do is to help each and every man to find himself and his life work.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Donnelly?
I'm for helping these boys get an education. But after all, when they return home, they'd like to have a job right away.
Well, that's where the Public Works Committee comes in. Mr. Magruder?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As we see it, after this war is over, there will be a tremendous need for public works, and we can set up such a program in Yellow Springs as an emergency measure. Now, everyone knows that we need a new grade school building. We could remodel the old Mills House for a recreation center. We could use the Hugh Birch home for a health center. And certainly our streets and roads need repairing.
Mr. Magruder, how about a garbage disposal plant?
We need that, too.
Well, I might say that the village of Fairfield has agreed to come in with us and build a new plant.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Deaton?
I don't want to hold up any of these projects, but do we really need a new school building? The old one still looks pretty good to me.
Well, Glenn, that might have been okay in your day, but it certainly won't do now.
It isn't just the children of today. It's the future children of our servicemen that we've got to think of.
Well, Mr. Magruder, what about new businesses?
We have in mind several small industries for Yellow Springs.
What kind of industries?
Well, Chetlow would like to expand his dry cleaning business to include a laundry. And I'm sure we can get the capital right here. How about it, Russell?
Well, our bank is here for them. I understand there's a committee of farmers and merchants to plan a combined dairy and market.
Well, now we're really getting places.
But still, I say it's going to cost us a lot of money.
Well, certainly it's going to cost us a lot of money. Glenn, don't you think we can raise it?
Mr. Chairman, it's fine to be thinking about jobs for our boys. But as I see it, that's only half of the job. The other and more important part deals with matters of the spirit, getting away from prejudice, learning to live together, not just as neighbors, but with the whole world. The question is, can we provide our boys with a chance for a better life, not just a better living?
Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Howell?
I'm thinking of something my boys said the day they went to the Army. They said, Mother, if democracy means fighting for Yellow Springs and freedom as well as a job, then we can understand. I'd like to write them tonight and tell them a better community will be waiting for them when they come back.
The people of Yellow Springs voted by an overwhelming majority to put their plan into effect, and they adopted a charter expressing their view of the post-war world. Let Mayor Fess give its salient points.
We pledge ourselves to provide our young people with opportunities for self-development and productive careers at home. We wish to be a good neighbor to other communities and to play our part
in the development of the new world. Well, that's it. We realize, of course, that we're just one small community, and our plan may not work unless it's a part of a much bigger scheme. But we're going ahead, confident that the big job in the rest of the world will be done.